Hey folks, my name is Chris Wessel. Today in this episode we're going to be tying a bomber, but instead of using calf tail we're going to try doing it with deer hair wings. There's no real benefit to using this over calf tail, but one benefit would be that if you didn't have a certain colored calf tail there you wanted to use for the wing, you could certainly use deer hair instead if you did have that color. Without further ado, let's get on into it.
Alright folks, we're going to start with our hook, which we're using today, the CS42 from Partridge, and we're going to use a size 2. Nice bigger hook for these bombers. You guys get to see it a little bit better, and we're going to do it on an awesome hook. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is get our thread on there, which is UTC 140, and I give myself a little bit of room for the head up front just in case I wanted to throw on a colored head when I was done. We won't be doing that today, but so I like to put down a little bit of a thread base that my deer is going to be laying on, and I find it just gives it a little bit more grip. I actually have deer hair here. This is already all pre-stacked and everything. I just save you guys some time watching this. But I have deer hair that I gotten a few years ago, and literally on the package of this deer hair says for tails only, and that's because this deer hair has super short, super skinny fibers, and it doesn't really spin that well for the bodies of bombers. So I kept this for tying wings on bombers. So don't throw that stuff away, guys. It's always good to keep. Just want to size this wing up appropriately here. That looks pretty good. And we're just going to cut that on an angle. And we just want to trap all those fibers in there first, and then we can go over it later. I probably could have used a little less, to be honest, but we'll roll with it. I have some real nice white-tailed deer fur we're going to use for a body on this from shore. This stuff is super soft. It spins almost like it's caribou. Just straighten that up a little bit. There we go. So we're going to come back to just before the point, and we're going to put our tail on, which is also pre-stacked. Like other, if we were using calf tail, we just kind of measure that up to the front and put a wrap on, throw a few more on. Yeah, that's roughly the same. So we want to just make sure this is actually pretty secure before we cut it. And give yourself, leave some space there for this to, or for you to have a few more thread wraps to secure this in place. So this is kind of cool, and I mentioned in the intro that you know, you can use different colors. I mean, and they work. I actually like the way they fish. Not that it's a huge difference from calf tail or anything, but they do work really well, and something different to try. So we're going to tape up both ends of this bomber, and that's because when you start trimming, there's not much difference between the body and the tails, and you don't want to get confused and snip the wrong thing off. So we're just going to eliminate the possibility of that happening and tape it up. Alright, I also have my whitetail here pre-cut, so we'll get into that. And as always, that first clump I always do a bit of a smaller one, just so it allows us, when we're trimming towards the back, that it can come down into a nice taper. And that's just because that's the style I tie. Kind of rushing through this, guys, because I know you've seen me tie a bomber before, so. And if you haven't, there is a bomber tutorial on my YouTube page, so feel free to go check it out. You will find when you're fishing these that the wings could start looking a bit gnarly as you're fishing, especially after a couple of fish hooked. Don't even sweat that. It's not going to hurt you. The fish actually seem to really like that, so I just leave it there. Put it this way, I wouldn't tie on a new fly because the wings were looking a bit gnarly. I think we're going to throw some badger hackle on this one. That's another nice thing about these bombers, is that everything is really earth tony in the body and wings, and you can throw in a super bright contrasting hackle on it just to make it jump out, or you can kind of stick with the earth tones that you got and natural colors and throw on that, and it looks super fishy too. So I think we're gonna go that way. That's how I like the fishies as well. Here in Newfoundland, orange hackle is really huge, so that also works really well on these. And you don't have to wait until you get deer hair that is not the best for spinning bodies. I mean, you can use deer hair that you have, but I do recommend using straight stuff. And when you're tying it in, initially do a few loose wraps, because if you pinch it down right off the bat, that stuff is going to expand like crazy, and then you can do some tighter wraps as you secure in behind it. But your first couple initial ones, I would leave pretty loose. We're getting so close to fishing season now. I'm starting to get really excited. COVID has got everybody locked in or not doing stuff they normally do. Fishing is the one thing you can just get out and avoid people if you got to, and just enjoy yourself. It's so good for the soul. You know, I think we're gonna stop there. And I'm just gonna do a quick little half hitch here. Maybe two. Really soft deer hair. All right, let's trim this up. This is just my initial trimming, so I kind of do just a general trim job just to get the rough shape of what my finished product is going to be. And I'm just watching that horizon while I'm trimming. I've had a few people reach out to me from my first bomber video, and they're saying, you know, the horizon concept really works when trimming if you're trying to get a nice clean bomber. So if you don't know what I'm saying when I'm referring to watching the horizon while you trim, just go back and look at a couple of the deer body tutorials I've done on the YouTube page. And if you like it, don't forget to give me a like and to subscribe. Alright, let's taper up the fronts. Tying deer bombers or deer hair body flies like bugs, bombers, I find this Regal Revolution has really been indispensable. It's just makes it go so much quicker. If you're ever looking for a new vise, give them a serious consideration. And we're not going to go too crazy making this body real pretty, just because I don't want to keep you guys here just watching this. That's good enough. And we just go up around the wing. Oh, should trim that off. So we go, that was around, then I come between the wing and the shank, come back up around the wing, between the wing and the shank, and then just give it a couple turns. And that just kind of holds your wing upright and in place. I used to build up my thread to hold it up, but this creates a lot less bulk to do. So as I mentioned, we're going to use some Badger. We got some Metz number 2 here. It's one of the nicer Metz number 2 saddles I've ever owned. Super nice. I had already taken some out, but can't seem to find what I was working with. I'm gonna search for another piece. If it takes me a while, I may cut it out, guys. So, alright, that's not too bad there. Maybe it's not the best. So I'm just splaying this out and just seeing how it looks. Let's try this one. The hackle gets a little bit larger towards the back, but that's all right. So we're just tying in the stem of the base of this feather. Then I fold it over itself, and that should lock it in pretty good. So we're going to come around. Yeah, the back end of this is... And that was a sloppy job too. So I'm just weeding that thread up through the body. This is kind of a new way I've been tying bombers lately, and it's new to me. I know some other people use it. I was shown by somebody else, and you know, it works well. You got to make sure that you're feeding that thread through the body and wiggling while you do it, or else you could mess your body up. But it saves me time when tying. And if you put like a red head on this now or something, that's going to look super slick. Alright, so that is deer hair wing on your bomber. Give it a try, guys. It's kind of fun to do, and you know, maybe it's that different material that causes fish that you've been working to strike. Thank you again for stopping by. If you haven't subscribed to the page yet, please feel free to do so. It helps me out. But if not, I'm just happy you came by and enjoyed the video. Until next time, have a great day.